Hello, good people. How we doing today? My name is Anje. I'm Pam. This is my lovely wife Pam, and we are here to talk a little bit about romance and love without borders, dating and relationships in a new culture. I'm originally from the U.S. and Pam. I am fully Costa Rican. Is from Costa Rica, and we were lucky enough to meet, fall in love, go through all of the hoops, get married, and now here we are. So we're gonna get right into it. I'm gonna start sharing here the presentation for today, and feel free to join in the chat if you are agreeing with anything or have any questions about anything. You can totally leave it there. Super excited to be here, by the way. Thank you, Christina, for thinking of us for this segment of the Infinity Lands Virtual Travel Summit. Um, it's really, really amazing to see how much you have cultivated in this virtual space, and so we're really happy to be a part of it. So yeah, here we are. Let's talk about it. So again, my name is Anje. I'm originally from Houston, Texas. I lived in California on and off for most of my life, but the last 10 years before I moved to Costa Rica was mostly spent in San Diego, California. And I love SoCal. It's a beautiful place, but I also felt that it was time to venture out and see more things. So that means I have traveled over 12 countries now, Canada, Mexico, Belize, Ecuador, China, Thailand, El Salvador, St. Lucia, Guatemala, Panama, Ecuador, and now Costa Rica. I think that covers it. Um, and fortunately, Costa Rica has been the last stop along most of these travels in terms of like where I found home and grounding space. And coming here on a solo travel and then being able to find my now wife has really grounded me here in the space. So we're going to talk a little bit about, exploring that and what that means. Uh, and I want to help people to achieve a more realistic approach to finding love and romance while you're traveling. I think I was definitely one of the fortunate ones, but I've heard lots of major success stories about people finding love abroad. And even though that wasn't my focus, that is just what has happened. So I'm grateful for Pam to be here today for the emotional support. And of course, love, feel free to chime in at any point. Thank you. Yes. Maybe you can tell us a little bit about where you're from in Costa Rica.
Well, I'm Pam again. Hi, everyone. I am a fully Costa Rican person. I was born in Limon, and I left when I was like 19 or 20 to the city, and I lived there for like 12 years until I met Anje. And actually, meeting Anje was what brought us into the South Caribbean. That I'm sure Anje's going to talk about a little bit further.
Absolutely, absolutely. So yeah, where there is love, there is life. I really love this quote from Gandhi because I've always felt like even if you're not looking for love, once you find the love within, that is your home. I've always felt like even though you travel all over the world, where you find your home is inside. We're living in these bodies, we're breathing every day, and we're really grateful to be present in this time. And so I've always found that love is at the center. That is what I am. That is what I want to represent. And so this quote really does encompass that love that I feel here now where I'm called home. Today we're going to talk about cultural differences in a relationship and navigating language barriers. And I think this is huge, even though Pam is bilingual, and that definitely helps our communication. I think when you're traveling to new countries, it's super important to have just basic understanding of that language. So we're going to talk a little bit about that. We're going to talk about how to build meaningful connections while traveling and living abroad, which was something that was huge for me because I came out here for healing and was very solitary. And once I came out of that healing cocoon, it was time to meet people. So we're going to talk about how that can actually happen and how you can manifest that. Next topic is going to be how to maintain long distance relationships and build with a foreign partner. And this is a tough one. This is a really interesting part of the conversation because I don't think either Pam nor I wanted a long term or long distance relationship. So we'll talk a little bit about that. And the last thing we want to cover today is just dating into marriage. um, what it means to get to that stage of being ready for marriage in another country. Pardon me. And the visas that it requires to get into the country, and a little bit of our different family dynamics. uh, how solo travel changed my life forever. I don't know what's going on here with my throat. Let me have a pause for a second. Okay, thank you for your patience. We had a quick commercial break for a second there. We have a little dog by the name of Mamba who was also having a moment, barking while I'm coughing. So we both had a fit, but we're back on board. We're going to talk about how solo travel changed my life forever. Um, this is actually really emotional for me because I felt like even though I was progressing so much in the States and doing everything that I could to elevate to the next level. You know, this is what we're always thinking about, where's the next step and higher growth. Um, there was a moment in my life where I just needed to have that time to separate and remove myself from all of the things that were going on in the States. And it led me to my first solo travel, and that was extremely brave. And Pam tells me that all the time, how brave I was to do that, because not a lot of people have that courage. You know, I see a lot of people want to do group travel, and that's amazing. I think it's a really great way to do so. But if I would not have been traveling by myself, I would have not been able to have the freedom and the flexibility to do all the things that I did, such as meeting Pam and then moving on. Pictured here is my little dog Mamba and I here in a beautiful part of Costa Rica. I really love this area. Do you remember what it's called?
That was Hacienda La Chimba.
Hacienda La Chimba. Yeah, it's a beautiful spot. So yeah, speaking of beautiful places, that's exactly why I chose Costa Rica. It is an eco-tourist dream destination. There's so much beauty here, so much biodiversity, which I'm kind of a little bit of a bio nut in terms of wanting to know everything about the land, how it grows, what is growing, all of the animals that are here. That is my forte. So I've been lucky enough to be able to integrate all of my interests into one space with tourism and also just being able to live and exist in a place that looks so beautiful like this. So that is what led me to Costa Rica. So here we have Rio Celeste and Volcano Arenal. which are two really, really cool places that Pam
Major
and I
definition.
have been able to visit since I've been here. All right, so we're just going to get right into the juicy stuff, cultural differences and language barriers. This is super huge. For anyone who is traveling, I highly recommend maybe just downloading Duolingo, getting your chops up a little bit with the basics. That way, when you're traveling, you're able to at least have locations and times and, how to coordinate. And in Costa Rica, it's such a beautiful place where a lot of people do speak English, right? Customer service is a huge part here. So people are friendly and they want to speak English, but learning the language was huge. I think that it's more challenging for me because I actually studied English and theater and, was taught so well, like about enunciating my words and being super clear on things. And so Spanish is not like that. It is a little bit more lax, right, with the tongue.
Yes.
It's super relaxed with the tongue, and I think that's something that I've had to learn. And so initially with the language, we were hitting it off just fine because we were just with each other, talking on the phone, on videos, and it was all English. Once I met her family,
Until
that was a whole other thing. And so that was really huge to just be able to um, have at least a few phrases with them because they mostly speak Spanish. So research your area, make sure you know where you're going, and at least have a little bit of Spanish or whatever the language may be. For me, in this instance, is Spanish. Um, there are major cultural differences coming from Costa Rica to the U.S. Would you like to go into that a little bit about a little bit of the cultural differences that we've experienced?
Sure. So, well, first of all, I want to say that yes, I agree. Cultural differences are like huge, and like one of the biggest things that actually, you said it was a pet peeve, right? Like one of the biggest ones is like the fact that the car door is slammed. This is something that, like, so culturally here in Costa Rica, like, we work really hard. Not to say that everybody else do not, right? Sorry, everybody does. But when we have something, we really want to take care of things. And this is related to the fact that in the United States specifically, you have so many options, right? And so many opportunities to, like, go to things, replace things, like anything in general. Here in Costa Rica, it's, or at least for us and for me specifically, it's a little bit more like, oh, I've worked towards it. I want to take care of it. So we have experienced this, a couple times. It was like with Anje first. I was like, hey, please don't slam the door of the car. Like, please do not. And then having to experience that with a couple of their friends, so it's like, it's kind of shocking for me, but we have been able to manage that, and Anja had, like, understood why this is something that it is important to me, and I appreciate the fact that you also make it important to you. But this is like one of so many differences that we have over here, or at least in our relationship.
Yes. So knowing the cultural do's and don'ts are extremely important. And I think that is not going to happen overnight, but that's why patience is a virtue that you must cultivate. It's going to be a process because after a while of doing it, you're like, okay, now I understand why these things are so sensitive. And it's just important to have patience through that. So I've had to accept it sometimes the harder way, but we definitely have learned through that. And um, the last point is just to reshape your expectations and surrender to be amazed. I think that both Pam and I have both had to reshape our expectations because some things that I may want to do may have not been her way of doing things, and being very like in control of your world and taking care of things um, in a certain way and watching a partner do it in a different way, you kind of want to step on each other's toes. And so I think that has been a huge part of us getting over those differences is just being able to kind of reset the expectation of why am I thinking that this is something my partner should know that I'm going to be doing. Uh,
Sitting back is something that we have been doing.
yeah, yeah. And so this part of things I don't think has been our biggest challenge. Fortunately, it has actually been really good for us to learn and grow in this way of understanding even more outside of how we've been raised. And so, yeah, I think it's also something that kind of keeps our relationship with a spark because there is so much to know and there's so much to learn. So, cultural differences, language barriers, I think we have covered. We can move on. Building connections while traveling or living abroad. Now, I know for me, building connections is something that I am really, really good at. It's something that I want everywhere that I go to make meaningful connections with people and build community. And I think that was one of the biggest things that I knew about leaving San Diego that was going to be missing while living abroad. And so, of course, doing solo travels, like you may find retreats and you may find people that you really align with, and that's going to help you with those connections. So, join the tours, explore your interests. Pictured here, you see me inside of a radio station here in the heart of Puerto Viejo, Costa Rica, on the South Caribbean. It's a beautiful online radio station that has allowed me to harness more skills and to stay grounded in music, which has been a big part of my background. And now from that opens so many other doors. You also see above some friends and Pam and I on a nature hike. And this is actually what connected us in the beginning. Fortunately, I was able to see her profile with all of these pictures of her doing things in the outdoors, and it really made me feel like, okay, we have some similar interests. We're going to be able to connect on those things.
And we did.
And we did. And we still do. And that's why we live in an area that actually helps to facilitate all of that type of activity. So picture to the right is a sloth that actually hangs out in our front yard. Pretty often we see these little ones around, and that fuels my soul. So these are the things that bring you together with community, brought me together with community. So find your people in online forums such as Facebook and Instagram. This was also a really big one for me because when I first came to Costa Rica, I was not really interested in integrating with a lot of expats. I really wanted to integrate with more locals. Bing, bing. But it also was a big tool for when I did decide to be here a little bit long term. To connect with that expat community and to join certain groups and forums and to watch how people were moving around out here and how they were able to interact out here. And even in the beginning, like when moving here, I didn't have a a source of income, but I was able to build a business that brought me passive income while I was here. And so that's huge. So that network is amazing. It has helped me a lot. I've met so many amazing people through that network, and they are out there. For me specifically, this was one of the Black expat communities that I joined, and it opened doors from all parts of Costa Rica because we are pretty spread out around here. Download the apps for dating and making new friends. Yes, big shout out to Tammy. Tammy is an app that is specialized for connecting people of all walks of life that may be LGBTQ plus IA or above and beyond. And I always looked at dating sites as like something that was just for hookup culture. That's what I saw back in the States, and I had never really gotten into that. I was also in long-term relationships, and so that was never my interest. But the moment that I had that space, I was like, what do I have to lose? You know, what do I have to lose by creating a profile, maybe being able to connect with some people while I am solo traveling, even if it's just for friendship. And fortunately, it led me to meeting the love of my life. And I think for Pam and I think we both immediately knew that this was a tool that could connect people, even if you've given up swiping a bunch left and right. It is worth a try. And the last one is be flexible and explore. This is huge. This is huge while traveling abroad because everything from moment to moment might change. You might have this beautiful itinerary planned out for you to do all of these activities, but you may have a thunderstorm, or you may have something that happened that makes a road close. And those types of things definitely happen here in Costa Rica. So you have to be flexible. You may have to stay in a local spot for maybe a few hours. And in that spot, you may want to spark up a conversation. So don't hold a lot of weight on the itinerary and on the plan. Like, get out there, explore, make connections, talk to people, especially if you are trying to find love. Yeah,
Be open-minded on that.
be super open-minded on that. Yes. Long distance. Well, I was catching flights and feelings. Let's just put it that way. It was super important for me to maintain the spark that Pam and I had pretty instantly. I came here on solo travel just for a 3 week vacation, and 3 weeks turned into 7 weeks. And I knew after 7 weeks that I really wanted to spend my time with this person. So I was going to do everything that I could to make that happen. So yes, this is really important. Make the commitment to catch that flight, because I knew a couple people were trying to slow me down before I came to Costa Rica, and I'm very glad that I did. Communication is key. And the reason that I say that is because it is the foundation of a long distance relationship. It is the absolute bread and butter of the long distance relationship. It is all about communication because that's really all that you have. So making that additional time to just chime in, check in, say I love you, or the little things, they go a long way for reassurance while you're very far apart. Establishing trust is vital. This is hard when you're long distance, but I think that's why it's crucial to keep that communication at the focal point, because as you're communicating, you get a chance to, speak your truths and share your feelings and give visibility to your life and your community. And I think that was really important for us, for her to be able to see a little bit of what was going on in the States, because she does not have the visa to actually travel there. So me showing her all my friends and getting on video time and then posting all the time was really helpful, to kind of build that trust. And yeah, setting realistic visitation goals eases anxiety. This is big, 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 big. Pam and I have really, really wanted to be together, so we definitely made the point to say, okay, even though we have to go back to our regular lives and get out of this land for a second, let's make a plan to meet up. So I came back to Costa Rica. She even came to Mexico, where I was able to easily cross the border, and we could see each other, and we can hug each other, and we can remind each other why we fell in love in the first place.
Yeah, it was a matter of commitment on that, and that actually eased a lot of my anxiety, specifically because I had never had, a long distance relationship. First of all, even as into or with a person that came from a country that I was not allowed to get into. So that actually helped a lot. The visibility, communication, and building the trust was easy, but it was hard at the same time, to do. But we definitely achieved our goal with commitment, patience, and communication.
I agree 100%. I really love these photos because it shows, just a little bit of our interests and our date nights and, things that we did while we were spending that additional time together. So we went tubing. We love sushi.
Mm-hmm.
My guy Mamba actually moved out here before I did, because Pam was so amazing enough to just say, yes, I know you're making this transition. I know you have a lot of things going on. Why don't you bring him here? So they are now bonded. Integrating family dynamics. I'm just gonna, yeah, just gonna read this one off. In most Latin American countries, the focal point of their lives is family. Family is the number one thing, and I grew up with my family being very spread out, and that was something that I had gotten used to. So when I moved to San Diego, I was basically without my family. I was the only person that was in that city. Fortunately, I was able to develop family and develop community over time, but it wasn't the focal point of my life. So this was huge, trying to integrate my independent way of being to now sharing everything with the family. So one of the things that I loved about Pam was right away, she was like, I have a son. No holding back. I don't have any kids that I have birthed myself, but she had a son, and I was like, okay, let's do it. I appreciate the honesty. I appreciate you saying that right out, and I have the capacity to commit to being a part of his life in whatever way that is. Which now he calls me mom, so I'm definitely integrated into that part of the life. And also to the right, you can see her brother here, her mom, her brother-in-law, and additional family members that are brothers as well. Um, and that was really, really nice because a lot of the family members are very LGBTQ accepting, and even members of the family are like, it's a very, very accepting family. So they just immediately took me in, and that just felt so amazing to just know that I have this connection with the family on, the personal side, learning mom, learning son, but also knowing that we can actually be ourselves. 100 and totally 10%, 1,010% we can be ourselves. And
that was even a little bit like shocking for you.
It was huge.
It was a little bit shocking because I am very open with my family. Like I have, like one brother that my mom gave birth to, and another one that is like my brother from the soul. Like we're all family, and we're gay. So like my family is like very open minded on those things. So the fact that I just wanted to kiss Anje in front of my mom, in front of my brothers, it was like for them, not for me. And I was like, what's going on? Because my family is very understanding, very accepting, and that was a little bit shocking for Anje at that time. But luckily, that those guards and those walls definitely went down. I also try to like meet them halfway because I understand, like if you're not used to that, then I should also be understanding of that, right? So we were able to find a nice middle into that, and luckily Anjana feels absolutely 120, 50% comfortable with just like being ourselves in front of the family.
Yeah, just being. And I'm still working on the language, so that's definitely something that is huge with the family, but they're working on it too. So it's a beautiful thing. Adventure opportunities, work and volunteer work. This was big. Pam and I were lucky enough to be able to do house hunters. I had signed up for it when I first moved to Costa Rica. I saw an ad on Facebook, and this was something that helped to highlight some of the things that were in the area that we were moving into. And being a part of this area in the South Caribbean, I really fell in love with a project called the Jaguar Rescue Center, where I've been a tour guide there, and I get to talk about the biodiversity in the area and how to protect these very sensitive environments. And now I feel so integrated into the community just because of those two things. It was a big kind of like welcome to the space. And of course, I mentioned this earlier, aligning with Wallaba Radio is also something that has been huge for me as well. So, seek out those adventures and, apply for those things and do volunteer work. And that's really going to help broaden the perspective of how you can be a part of a space and not just come here to vacate. I think a lot of times the U.S. mindset is like, okay, we want to come here and we want to settle down and like do things that we're very similar to doing. But one of the biggest things is learning how to shift a little bit to what the environment is calling for. And this area calls for you to like kind of sit down and relax. Dating to marriage, this one is just, pretty straightforward. Commit to your partner, commit to taking that flight, commit to yourself going on vacation. And if that is how you fall in love, that's how you fall in love. If that is your dream, then let it fall on you. Let yourself receive that love. It's very, very important. forget what people have to say. This is important too, because a lot of people had so much to say about Pam and I's relationship, or about long distance, or about how fast or how slow we must do what's right for you, because you don't want people projecting fears upon your relationship. And sometimes you also internalize that, and you have self-sabotage. So you have to unlearn the toxic behavior, and mostly just embrace, go with the flow. There's so many changes that are ahead, and your partner is going to be by your side. And the last thing that I want to talk about here is just the visas. Getting in and out of the country has been a little bit difficult for a lot of people lately, but this is how you can do it. One, you can be a digital nomad here in Costa Rica. This is ideal for remote workers, online business owners with a monthly income of $3,000 or more. And this is really good for people that are always wanting to be on the go and exploring different places. And also you have number two, which is for retirees. That's a minimum of $1,000 a month. And a lot of people come here and retire in remote parts of Costa Rica and buy property here. So this is for you if you are on that level there. Also, you have the rentista. This is a fixed income of $25,000 a month, or $30,000 a year over the course of 2 years. And then you have the investors. So if you're coming here to invest, or you want to start buying real estate, this is another great way to be here in the country, but that requires $150,000 investment in a business. Just a couple more. The one that I'm on right now, foreign nationals marrying a Costa Rican citizen. After 2 years of being married is when you can apply for naturalization. That is the process that Pam and I are in right now. So this is something for all of the lovers in the building. If you come here, you fall in love, or you don't fall in love, and you have a little fling, you have a baby here in Costa Rica, or you're coming from another country and you have a baby here in Costa Rica, technically you could be offered that citizenship through your child being nationalized. Entrepreneurs, this is for all those aspiring to be self-employed, but you have to have proof of a business, or proof of ownership is required for this particular visa. And then the last one is foreign employees hired by companies conducting business in Costa Rica. Right, so these are the ways that you can get in and out of Costa Rica with the visa process. And I believe that is going to conclude our segment for today. Hopefully you guys have enjoyed learning a little bit about Pam and I, and about how we have found love and romance and what that means for us. And yeah, anything else you want to add, Marie?
You said it all.
Perfect.
Thank you.
Thank you guys so much for being here, and hope you have a lovely afternoon.